This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
Welcome back to the show. We are joined by Elite Chiropractic Coach. Yeah, he's the owner and founder of Healed, Dr. Fred DiDomenico, joining us here live today from beautiful Newport Beach, California. And, we do talk about the work he does, empowering his patients to know their spinal cord and, of course, their nervous system and so much more. But it's not just about that, because he's really helping people with chronic pain, with all spiritual, mental, everything. And you're not only a teacher, he's a speaker, author, and soon to be host of his own podcast. But really, there's so much to you, and you're just so into helping those find out, what's going on, what's wrong, and to make everyone live their best lives. I don't know how else to describe it, but I might just keep talking. So you're going to have to cut me off, because you do so much. And I'm so excited that we've been together for a few weeks now talking, and there's still more to come. Go ahead. What's happening?
Thanks.
You're
Well, just a
welcome.
couple of minutes ago before you hit record, I'm like, I have no idea what we're going to talk about. And then I
And
was listening to the introduction. I'm like, oh, okay, I know what I'll talk about now.
great. What is that?
Not fast. Well, the was the last thing they said on the intro was now I forget what it was, but something about helping people with success in business. Well, I just came back from a boot camp, so actually I
Oh.
don't practice anymore. So I coach chiropractors,
Mm-hmm.
and what do we teach them? The purpose is change healthcare. What the general public doesn't understand, spine and
Yeah.
nervous system is the foundation of health and life of the body, right? Spinal cord,
Mm-hmm.
the lifeline, carries energy to all the organs, and energy determines your health. So if your
Okay.
spine's out of alignment, you may not even know it.
Uh-huh.
Cause stress to the spinal cord shuts down the energy, and then you're wondering why is my energy down? Why do I have a thyroid problem? How did I get this skin problem? Why do I have hormone problems? Why do I have cancer? When did autoimmune disease happen? And a lot of these are generational, but what's generational is also the spinal pattern.
Okay.
Why? Because kids mimic their parents. Why? Because we want to be connected. So what do? We live the same life. We eat the same food. We adopt their belief system. We adopt the energy. We mimic how they move, and we mimic how they talk.
Uh,
And it becomes subconscious.
wow.
Because how many times, will a kid say, I'll never say that to my kids? And then you get kids like, oh my God, I sound just like my mother.
Yep.
Because you adopt these things. So what travels through generations are the spinal patterns. And then, of course, that affects the nervous system. And then you see these generational health patterns that pass through generations. And when you x-ray like a mom and her kid, or a dad and their daughter or son, and then the grandfather, you could practically overlay these x-rays. They're exactly the
Wow.
same, and they have these health problems, but the medicine says it's genetic.
Mm-hmm.
Well, your mom had breast cancer, so you better get these tests, and you better do that, and they scare the shit out of people. Well, how about if you change your diet? How
Mm.
about if you change your energy? How about if you look at your spinal pattern?
Wow.
Because what an MD will never tell you, or a pediatrician, that the foundation of all health conditions is an energy problem.
Ah.
But they'll never talk to you about energy, because medicine is about selling drugs. And so then, the average 55-year-old in this country, and this was years ago, it's probably now 55. Shit, I'm 64. I'm like, 55, that's like a teenager. They're on 7 medications.
No.
7.
Wow.
That is insane. And that was years ago. It might even be more now. So, so you don't have a medication problem. You got an energy problem. This is where, so I teach doctors how to get people to understand this.
Mm-hmm.
It also align with a technique that can actually restore your spinal structure. What's supposed to be take stress off the cord, and turn your spinal cord, instead of a trickling garden hose, turn it into a fire hose, and then all of a sudden all these health problems go away, and they go back to their MDs, and they don't need these drugs anymore. because you're not diabetic. Wow, all of a sudden your thyroid's working. Man, your hormones are balancing out. Wow, your uterine cyst just melted away. Spontaneous remission of cancer. Well, what did you do? I went to the chiropractor. Well, it can't be that. It must be a spontaneous remission
Mm-hmm. Oh.
because we don't know shit about energy. Because why would we learn about energy when pharmaceutical companies want us to sell their drugs? So we're not going to learn about healing. So now there's videos of now medical doctors are upset. And now that there's no censoring or less censoring, you see these videos of medical doctors. I saw this one woman who said, hey, I've been an MD, it was 15 years or whatever. And she goes, we didn't learn anything about nutrition. We
Ah.
didn't learn very little about psychology. We didn't learn anything about emotional health. We didn't learn anything about diet. We didn't learn anything about energy healing,
Mm-hmm.
meridians. We didn't learn anything about anything. All we learned was drugs.
Yep.
And she was dogging on the how the medical profession is run. So anyway, so I deal with these chiropractors. That's what I do. I teach them because that's what I learned, and I learned a way to teach my patients this. And I said this before. I mean, I had people come. They weren't coming because of back or neck pain. I mean, yeah, we got those too.
Yeah.
But I had people that would come because they had cancer. I had people that would come because they didn't want to be on their thyroid medication. You have people that come because they're on antidepressants. People that come because they think they're on blood pressure medication and they're afraid that
Yep.
they're still going to have a heart attack. And they have a family and they don't want that. They don't want to happen to them what happened to their uncle or what happened to their dad or the woman that their mom died of breast cancer
Mm.
and and they don't want that for them and they don't
Ah.
want that for their daughters.
Of course not. No. Oh.
And it's got nothing to do with what medicine does. In fact, if you do exactly opposite of what medicine does, you'll probably heal.
Okay.
That's
Interesting, right? Oh.
yeah. So anyway, when I look at their practices. So I also teach systems and things like this. So we just came back from my boot camp. We were training a bunch of, bunch of people and teams. And the main theme is, and this is what reminded me, your business, your life, everyone only has one problem in life. One problem. And
Mm-hmm.
that's your level of consciousness.
Okay.
So it's like we show these slides like an eagle flying at 30 feet. We talked about this. An eagle flying at a low altitude has to deal with crows. Crows will fly on the backs of eagles and peck on them. They'll peck on their tail. Crows are a lot smaller, they're a lot more agile. It's like a big fat 747 versus a fighter plane, right? So, but at a higher altitude, now that's a metaphor for when you're in a lower consciousness, you're going to have more problems. I mean, if you're flying at 30 feet, what's your perspective of the world? What's your problem solving capability? It's limited to a lower consciousness.
Yeah.
So, Albert Einstein says, don't solve a problem with the same mind, i.e., consciousness, that created the problem. And so, one of the things we teach with doctors to build their business is you have to go to a higher level of consciousness. Now, when an eagle flies at 1,000 feet, there's no crows. And when you can see the horizon, you can basically see for miles and miles and miles and miles, at least 180 degrees. Your problem solving capability is much different. And so, one of the things we do is we take people through these exercises that actually raise their consciousness. Where they're now, David Hawkins was a psychiatrist and he did use kinesiology and he created the map of consciousness. And he shows you where he quantified those levels. And 87% of the people function at a weakening consciousness.
Yeah.
What's that mean? They're anxious, they're depressed, they're sad, they carry guilt from the past. And each energy creates matter. right? On a quantum level. Wave is not visible. Particles, wave energy turns into particle energy. You know, that's the universe we live in on a quantum level, right? Energy turns into matter. Energy creates matter at that wavelength. So your consciousness is feeding your physical body with energy. It's also creating the problems in your life, the problems or the blessings, because it's all perspective.
Yeah.
Catherine Ponder was Christian minister. She wrote The Dynamic Laws of Success. And right in the beginning of the book, she says, every problem in life is a test of love. If you solve that problem with love, the problem goes away. If you don't, it will stay until you do. Like, that's fascinating. Why? Because love is at a higher consciousness. So when we go back to the map of consciousness, David Hawkins shows if you're at this level of consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
what's physically going to manifest in your life. So at love, unconditional love, you have revelation. What's that mean? Your mind has different thoughts. Now, they've also proven in the Heart Math Institute, you have more, your heart isn't just a pump. Your heart has its own, what they call brain.
Like a memory, right? Oh gosh,
Yeah,
that's
they're
crazy.
called sensory neurites.
I love hearing stories when the organ transplants happen and then someone's craving or wanting and okay, you know what I mean. But go ahead, keep
Yeah,
going.
yeah. No, it's amazing. It has like its own brain.
Mm-hmm.
And you actually send more
Wow.
signals from your heart to your brain
Mm-hmm.
than from your brain to your heart. Like your brain to your heart can certainly translate emotion and affect your heart. You know, if you're under stress, you're going to have a higher heart, more rapid heartbeat. But your heart sends more information to your brain, which means your mind can obey your heart.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're in the state of love, which is a higher consciousness, you're going to have more loving thoughts. You're not going to look at your life the same. You're not going to see as many problems. So one thing I always say is when you have a problem, learn to meditate, raise your state, ask the question, how would God see this? Because if God can see from divine love and you look at that problem through God glasses, would you do different things?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, right? You would have a different strategy. We've talked about this on some other podcasts that you and I have done. What would you do mostly? Nothing. Because if you look at it from divine love, you realize the only problem is your perspective.
Yeah.
That's the only problem. What meaning did you assign to that condition, event, or person? And that's the biggest problem,
Yeah.
right? So the one thing we always can choose is our perspective.
Yeah.
So if you don't like the way you're feeling, then change your perspective. Look at it from a more loving state. Look at it from a soul perspective. And we have podcasts where all we talked about was healed. That's a 6-step system that was divinely downloaded, helps you tap into who God created to be, learn how to exercise and live a more loving life and have a more loving, how to move from your mind to your heart. So your heart is guiding your life more than your problem creating mind, which gives you a more loving life. How to release your past, how to come into presence. So you're not stressed about the future, bringing your past into the present, right?
Mm.
And how to find and live your soul purpose, SOUL, you know, the reason you're here in this life. So these are things where I bring these spiritual principles into business.
Wow.
And so when these doctors and teams evolve in their consciousness, their practice grows.
Okay.
Now, we go through a lot of systems in 2.5 days. There's no way they could possibly implement everything we go over. There's no way. It's too intense. They do one or two things, but they go home and their practice grows. not because they implemented this new fantastic system, but
Mm-hmm.
because their consciousness shifts, they become more magnetic.
Yep.
So I also listen to billionaire mindset interviews, and
Feel the
they say the
same.
number one most important value of billionaires to grow, to become billionaires and maintain that or continue to grow is personal growth. So if you want to grow your business, grow yourself personally. Money is a consciousness, right? Money is an energy. Clients are an energy. Relationships are an energy. Like if your consciousness is to just close a client, you'll sell a product or service.
No.
If it's to build a lifelong relationship, now you build a culture, right? That's just a better business.
Yeah. I need a billionaire mindset. Sorry, I'm just digressing.
Yeah.
I gotta learn the way.
Yeah. And so then I listen to all these spiritual videos and it's
Uh,
like success isn't completely about what you do, right? Like there's people, and I was listening to this one this morning and they said if success was only based on what you do, then every hardworking person would be wealthy. But not every person who works hard is wealthy,
yeah.
right? Because there's a mindset to success. And if you want to increase your success, you have to change and raise your level of consciousness.
Yeah.
Now, that's going to be in a relationship, right? I remember in a relationship years and years and years ago, and this girlfriend was going to be married. She's like, "Well, maybe we should get married," and I was like, "Well, if you're going to do that, like you act like a girlfriend. If you want a ring, you got to act like a fiance."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But the challenges we're having in our relationship is because you act like a girlfriend. I don't think she understood that at the time, which is
Mm-hmm.
why she was like that, right? I mean, we had a fun relationship, but it had an end point because they don't progress. Like if you get married to someone, it's because your relationship is growing and progressing.
Yeah.
If you're going to the next level of success, it's because you and your systems and your team are continually evolving and going to higher mindsets.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why every person only has one problem, your level of consciousness. If
Okay.
you want something you don't have, you have to grow yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And then the way will show up. But working harder at the same level of consciousness is willpower.
Yeah.
Now, can you grow? Yes, but that's not sustainable,
Mm.
right? Because what if you don't work hard? What if you don't keep up that 1,000-mile-an-hour pace? Then your practice doesn't grow, right? You got to grow yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So that's our only problem. So, but we're spiritual beings having a human experience. That's our only goal is
Mm-hmm.
to reach, if you want to call it, a Christ consciousness. Every spiritual being wants to know their self. And I'm saying with a capital S. Every spiritual being seeks to know who God created him to be. It's very innate. You could say, well, I don't believe in God. You can have whatever belief system you want. We get to choose that too. It's called free will.
Yep.
Yet there's still this urge that we feel something inside of us that's more powerful than we think, meaning more powerful than our mind. And that's in our heart. Your mind is electric, your heart's magnetic. Magnetic, and we radiate an electromagnetic force. In magnetic energy, your heart has 5,000 times the manifesting power than your mind.
Yeah.
And that's why even in The Secret, law of attraction, where they tell you visualize it and feel it. Why do they tell you to feel it? Because emotions are the fuel. If you say an affirmation, but you don't feel it, it's not going to manifest as if you see it, you feel it, you're living in it, you're experiencing it. And if that's something you desire, and I say the word desire means your spirit seeking manifestation, there's a difference between a desire and a want. You could want things, and that could come out of human emotional need. And desire, in my opinion, comes from your heart. It's spirit seeking manifestation.
Mm-hmm.
So Psalm 37:4, delight in the Lord. What's that mean? Stay connected. What else does it mean? Stay in higher consciousness. Stay connected to God's. So if you do that, then he'll give you all the desires of your heart. So right there, it tells you if you're in a more divine, abundant consciousness, you're going to see that in the world.
Yeah. Shit. Damn. Yeah.
Well, we know all that, right? I mean, you know all that.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, in Genesis, it said God created heaven and earth. So if God created the universe, this quantum universe where energy creates matter, then do we have a consciousness that's aligned with what we want to create in our life?
Mm.
So the thing is not to create the conditions, which you can, but you'll only create the conditions if you have the level of consciousness. So the first thing is get the level of consciousness. And then not only can you create the conditions, but a lot of those conditions are going to appear. So what's the bottom line? Align your consciousness.
And how do we do that, Master? Dr.
Oh,
Fred,
well,
tell us.
I don't know if I'm a master by any stretch, but I work on it every day. Well, one of it is through the healed system. I mean, it's what's your belief system. So,
Hmm.
first of all, becoming aware is step one. Becoming aware that I probably have beliefs and I'm saying things that aren't congruent with what I desire, right?
Mm.
So, if you really pay attention to what you're saying, you're spitting out your belief systems all day long.
Mm-hmm.
The next thing is, in my opinion, stay spiritually connected, have a spiritual foundation. People with a spiritual foundation, they still go through the same things as other people in life that don't, but they don't stay depressed as long. They don't stay sad as long. They tend to have more hope and more faith. They tend to be happier.
Mm-hmm. Ah, well,
So,
good. I'm happy.
yeah, if people with a spiritual foundation, man, well, they tend to be happier and I don't know if they have better lives, but they have a better perspective in their life, which may give them a better life.
Yeah, I think so. That's my own opinion. But yeah, that makes us all we should all be thinking about that and what we should be doing different. And it's not too late at any time to
No,
start.
no, it isn't. So anyway, I probably didn't say anything that you don't already know. But it's interesting that when you look at, if you want to call them billionaires, their primary business strategy is personal growth.
Mm-hmm.
And when we taught that all weekend long, we took people through mindset shifts, had them, identify limiting beliefs, have them develop more empowering beliefs, and then how to communicate, communication strategies to empower other people. And it's amazing the effect that happens when they come back. They go back into their life. They're different when they go home. They're a different doctor. They have a different team. They communicate differently because they move from their head to their heart. And all of a sudden, miracles start happening.
Like, tell us a miracle. Close out with something good.
Oh, well, people that are, they're stuck in a practice, they have all these problems, all of a sudden, you know, insurance checks that we've been trying to get forever show up in the mail. All of a sudden, all these new people start calling in. All of a sudden, old patients that used to come all of a sudden want to come back.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there's a lot of examples: finances, people, um, relationships. All of a sudden, their daughter or mom or sister that they haven't talked to in years will call.
Well,
Like things start healing.
yep. Mm.
That's amazing. How cool is
And
that?
it is. Well, then you look at your lighthouse behind you. It's like, oh, in the skies. And it's
Yeah, that's the
time
whole point.
to shine. Exactly. It
Time to
is.
shine. You got a message, man. Shine your light. 'Cause
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of people, what's the purpose of a lighthouse?
Wow.
They get out on a point and in a storm, they shine the light to guide the boats that are in the storm into the safe harbor. Well, if that's everybody's purpose. Shine your light.
Yeah. Ah,
And when you do, people come.
well,
Miracles start happening, right? The universe supports you on a higher level.
hello. Hello. Can you hear me? Well, thank you. It's time to shine our lights. Unfortunately, we're out of time, even though my button's stuck. But always a great conversation. Let's get connected. Let's get on the spiritual side. Let's start living a little different. I think, my opinion, there's always room for improvement. And I think you would see an improvement. So get started. And we'll see Dr. Fred on stage next workshop. Where? Where are you going to be? What are we doing?
August in Atlanta.
Podcast?
In
Where?
Atlanta. Oh, on the podcast? Yeah, next seminar, literal physical stage in Atlanta in August.
Awesome. Well, reach out, keep in touch. I know this is our last show, I should say. So
Yeah.
really sad it went so quick,
Yeah,
but
I'll keep in touch.
pleasure connecting with you and
Thank
keep in
you.
touch. Don't be a
Pleasure's mine.
stranger and we will
Well,
connect again soon. Sound good?
sounds great. Perfect. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Really
Have a great
appreciate you.
day.
Yeah, thanks.
Bye.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.